Good evening. Welcome to my Facebook page and YouTube channel, watching me live. And I welcome you to watch the replay. If you want more detailed, slower steps, you can always go back and go forward throughout the video. But yeah, my name is Erica. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator living on the west coast of Canada. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm feeling kind of sad because we're getting closer to the launch to customers of our 2025 to 2026 annual catalog. So we're saying goodbye very shortly. We're saying goodbye to our current catalog, which is really, really sad. Now, somebody has just texted me saying they can't hear me. So let me just go back. Can you hear me now? Now you can hear me. Oh, good, 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 good. Okay, thanks, Christine. How are you tonight? Yeah, so we're saying goodbye to a lot of wonderful products from the annual catalog, one of which is called Country Woods. I will turn my camera down so you can see what I'm looking at, but I fell in love with this suite of products because, of course, it had birds and it had birdhouses. Some of you may know that my husband recently retired, and last year he started getting into his retirement thinking, what am I going to be doing? So he made several birdhouses for our back garden. And so he really enjoyed that process and then painted them bright colors. So as I look out my backyard, I see all these beautifully colored birdhouses. And I'm hoping he makes some more this summer. But this suite is got birdhouses and birds and flowers, and it's just got a real beautiful country feel to it. Now, I bought the whole suite of products because it had 2 stamp sets, and it also had 2 packs of 12 by 12 designer series paper. It had an embossing folder, some ribbon, and it had some embellishments as well. So yeah, I bought the whole thing so that I could really, play with all of the products. So let me turn the camera down and I'll show you what we're doing, and I'll show you the card that we're casing tonight. It's one that I hadn't made yet, and it's really a sweet card, and it uses Pool Party as a card base. I haven't used Pool Party in a long, long time. So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to add my desktop to my stage, and I'm going to make it a solo layout here. And I'm just going to pull in my other lamp, trying to minimize shadows as always. All right, so this is it's a two-page layout of lots of samples, and you can see the colors. It uses Petal Pink, and it uses Pool Party, as I said. And it uses this beautiful, this is one of my favorite colors, Misty Moonlight. And it also uses one of our in colors here called Wild Wheat. At first, very many of us did not care for this color, but we grew to love it. I love it now. And I will also be using some Smoky Slate. And yeah, so I brought in all of my Stampin' Right markers, my blends, and I already started doing some of the coloring on the images. So this is the card that I want to recreate tonight. I'll pull my camera down so you can see it closer. It's this card. Let me just pull up my camera here. It's this card right here. This one right here. Okay, so it's got the Pool Party card base, and then it's got a layer on top that we're going to emboss with the embossing folder that was included in the suite. So there was quite a bit of stamping to do. I actually stamped the teapot, the pot, the flowers, the plant itself, and oh yeah, I forgot to do the stool. And the stamp set comes with a set of dies. You can almost cut out everything. This is the stamp set, and it's just fantastic. because you can do the flowers. There's 2 floral images here, and you can combine them either with the teapot or with this pot here. This kind of looks like a milk can. And then you've got this great little milk stool here. It's got some nice greetings, and it's also got a stamp that coordinates with the actual embossing folder. So it's a great stamp set, and then it has a great set of dies. Look at all the dies that are in this set. So you can die cut some extra flowers. Lots of extra flowers. You can die cut some different kinds of leaves. And then it's got the die cuts for pretty well all of the flowers in the set. Okay, so we'll be using a lot of these dies as we go along. I already did some pre-stamping for the card, pre-stamping and started coloring, because there's quite a bit of coloring in this card. We have to color the leaves and this plant and the 2 pots and also the stool, which reminds me I should take out the stool and put it on a block, because I forgot to do the stool. That was the one thing I forgot to do. And then we're going to do with Heartfelt Sympathy. I always like to have a few sympathy cards on hand, sadly to say, but that is the nature of life. Okay, so I hope everyone is well tonight. As I said, if you don't have time to watch the whole thing, then you can watch the replay. So what I did was I took a piece of basic white cardstock here. Our cardstock is a wonderful cardstock to actually stamp on. I used our Memento Tuxedo black ink because it works really well with alcohol markers. And I pre-stamped, and then I've already started to color. So this little pot is colored with the Petal Pink markers, light and dark. And I did this floral piece here. And when you stamp it, you think, gosh, that's a lot of coloring, but it goes pretty fast. And yeah, and I love the combination of colors on there. And this pot we need to color, and we're going to do this. This is kind of a tin pot. So I'm going to do that in the basic gray. Actually, not basic gray. Sorry, it's smoky slate. We do have basic gray, but this is smoky slate. And then we're going to do this plant. Okay. And then here's my cardstock base. I did this. This is half a sheet of 8.5 by 11. So you cut that in half, and then you're going to score it at 4¼ inches to create your card base. And here is a layer that is 4 by 5¼ And here is it's called the Eyelet embossing folder. I have used this a lot. I love this embossing folder. So I will run that through the machine right now so that we'll have that ready. So when you are embossing, you are only using the base plate on our Stampin' Cut machine, and you are using the cardstock in the folder. And then you're going to use this gray plate, which is plate number 4. Plate number 4 here. Whoops, I wish I wasn't mirrored, but I am. Number 4. You can put that right on top of that folder and run it through the machine with the folded side of the embossing folder going into the machine. Okay, and then let me just set up my machine ready for cutting. So I have to put back the cutting plate and one acrylic plate. Okay, so that's ready to go. So check out this beautiful embossing folder here. Can you see the texture in there? It's really quite nice. I love that. You could use both sides. I kind of do like the raised, the embossed side. So the raised side is called embossed side, and the non-raised side is the debossed side, just so you know some terminology. So we have that ready to go. Okay, so I do have to do a bit of coloring. So Christine, you're saying you had a productive day. What was that all about? No crafting. So what other productive things did you get done? I'll bet you got some gardening done. I received a gift certificate at Christmas time to a gardening center that I've never been to before. It's a fairly new one. It used to be called Canner Nurseries. And so it's up off the highway. And I haven't popped in there yet. I have to sort out all my pots and decide what's going in what. I typically do kind of the same kind of planting every year. I have certain pots that I like certain plants in. And I want to get ready to plant my zinnias from seed. I did that last year and I was most impressed. All right, so I typically start coloring using the lighter shade of my Stampin' Blends, and then I come in with the darker one, and I've learned over the years where to add shadows. And you can look up, so say this is like a pale. You could look this up on the internet and see pictures, and you might see some shading. So it'll give you an idea of where to shade. You have to think about where the sun or the light is coming from. Okay, and then once I've added a bit of shading there, I might even add just a bit of shading underneath the handle here. Okay, and then I come back to the lighter shade, and I kind of blend the edges in. And you'll see a bit of marking at first, but then it will all, as the alcohol dries, it will blend it in. So you get some really, really nice coloring. Okay, so now we're going to start with the light again of the wild wheat. And I'm going to color this plant. I find coloring very relaxing. I do enjoy coloring. And as I'm coloring here, it's making me think I haven't done much coloring lately. Now I'm thinking I'm right. I'm thinking one of the packs of paper is continuing in the new annual catalog. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong or right, Christine. But I thought I saw one of the papers continuing. I don't yet have my catalog because I haven't yet placed my pre-order because I was concentrating on some new online exclusive products. So as you can see, it goes pretty quickly. Now I pulled out, I don't use this very often, but it's called a color lifter. It's an alcohol marker with no color in it. So if you go outside the lines, you can just color over that with the color lifter and it will make that color disappear. So on one of these flowers here, I accidentally mistook it for a leaf and I did it in the pool party. And I used my color lifter to remove the pool party and then color it in with the petal pink. So it works quite well. Okay, I'm just going to grab the dark now, and I'm going to do a bit of shading on here. I'm just looking at my picture. So for example, this top leaf is kind of overhanging this leaf, so there would be a bit of a shadow underneath it. And the leaf is typically, you know, darker where it comes up from the stem. And if one sort of overlaps another, you can do a bit more shading. You can't go wrong. It'll always look more or less realistic. Okay. Oh, we have to do this one. Okay, and then I'm going to switch this to the pointy end or the paintbrush end, and I'm just going to try and get those stems. There we go. Okay, and let's bring back the light now. I'll just do a little bit, just going to drag the dark into the light. Okay, that should do it. Just gives it some added dimension. All right. Now, when you have multiple images to cut out, I do suggest you do them all at once, do them all on one piece of paper, and then you can cut them all at once as well. So I'm just going to grab the dies out of here. So we need the pot, and also make sure that when you stamp them, you know, apart from each other. Now I'm going to use my tape here, and I'm going to cut out all of them at once. I'm not sure how this one goes. Here we go. These are pretty easy to line up. And then the floral image. But that was a good quick guess to line that one up. Okay, a bit more tape. Okay, so let's take this to, oh, and I've got this pot, teapot. And then I just have the stool to do. Okay, so let's run these through. So there's the teapot. And here are these other pieces. Oh, that one didn't cut out very well. I'll just trim the side there. I think it must have shifted. My tape didn't hold it very well. So I'm just going to shift that. I'm just going to trim that. And then how's my teapot? Teapot is good. And then the plant. There we go. Okay, let's just throw those dies back on there. Okay. Now, that's a well-used piece of scrap. Now, I don't know if I can fit. Yes, I can fit this stool on here. So I'm going to pull in my Memento black ink. Hi, Carol. Nice to see you here. Are you adjusting back to being in Victoria? Can't believe it. We've been home, several weeks already. You plan vacations and you're waiting and waiting and waiting. Now, I forgot to bring, just hang on. I'm just going to grab, I think I want to do the stool in pecan pie. That's a really nice wood color. I love pecan pie. So again, I'm going to start with, and the legs have got a bit of white at the bottom, so I'm just going to start with the light. I'm going to leave a bit of white at the bottom. I'm just going to mark this to remind me not to color the whole leg. I love this little stool. You could use this for any number of stamp sets. If you have a character, you could sit it on top of the stool. I'm thinking about the gnomes we had a few years ago. They came out at Christmas time, and I think a set came out during the spring catalog. So you could sit a gnome on here, or dogs or cats or chickens or any of the other animals that we've had over the years. Okay, now we'll do a bit of shading. Yes, we've had a lot of cool weather, but it's warming up. It's starting to warm up. I'm keeping the faith. All right, so as we were talking about shadows underneath the stool, the legs would have some shadowing under there. So I'm just adding a bit of shadow. Okay, and then I usually do, kind of like the ends, because the light would hit the face. So if you thought the light was hitting the stool face forward, you would okay, and then I'll bring back the light one more time. And I'm just going to drag this down. There we go. There's our stool. Okay, so let me grab the die for that. And I'll grab another piece of tape and let me go cut that. And then we can start assembling this beautiful card. Okay, let's have a look now. This is the fun part for me. I love getting all my pieces ready to go and then assembling my card. Now, we're probably going to use some dimensionals on here. let's just trim this piece here that shifted a little bit. And grab my scissors. And I'm just going to trim it. That was a pretty easy trim. And then I'm going to grab, I have a black marker sitting here somewhere. A fine tip marker. And I'm just going to color in the handle a bit more because I lost some of it when it shifted. So let's just define the handle a little bit better. There we go. Okay. All right. Here's our card base. So the very first thing we need to do is, now yes, this is a horizontal card. Okay, it's a landscape card, I should say. So that's the top of my card. So I'm going to glue this on top of the base. Now, there is a die behind the flower pots. So the die is from the, okay, what did I do with them? Here they are. The die is from the Spotlight on Nature dies. I believe I have to get to know the catalog a little bit better. But I think these are continuing. Now I want not the largest, oh, that's too small. I know it's this ribbed one. I don't know if this is big enough. No, I think they're using the biggest one. This biggest, no, maybe not. Maybe these aren't the dies. You know, these might be those other dies. What were they called? Yeah, that's too big. They were radiating stitches, I think it was called. Or I could just choose to use a different pattern. Okay, this looks like an appropriate size. So I'll just use a different pattern because I don't think I have my radiating dies here still, or do I? Let me just have a quick look. No, the radiating dies didn't have a large circle. What am I talking about? No. All right, so we're going to use this one. Okay, so I have to cut this out of a piece of white. It really doesn't matter. You just want a large circle. It doesn't really matter which circle you use. So let me cut this out. You could even use the circles from the Stylish Shapes dies. They're stitched. But this has got some nice texture to it. So you might need your pokey tool just to poke out any pieces that didn't fall out. It does a pretty good job. Okay, and I did this on a thicker piece of card. All right, so those are the Spotlight on Nature dies that I'm using. All right, so let's glue this. I'm going to use my Tombow glue here. Now, you can always change up your colors for sure, even when you're casing the catalog. You don't have to use exactly what they use. It just gives you an idea. That's what casing is all about. Okay, then we've got this on here. and it's over towards the right. Okay, now we have a greeting with heartfelt sympathy, and I'm going to grab a piece of basic white again. And we're going to, it's a flagged edge. Now there's a great flagged edge, a stitched flagged edge. I'm going to do this actually in Misty Moonlight. Yeah, there's a really great flagged edge in the Stylish Shapes. I've been using it again a lot lately. Let's just see if it fits the greeting. This to me is a must-have set. So, and I'm going to cut it down. So let's just stamp this and see how it comes out. I don't know if this die is going to fit. So I might have to hand cut it. Okay, with heartfelt sympathy. No, it's going to cut it off. All right, so that's idea didn't work very well. Okay, so we'll just do our own cutting. So let me grab my mini trimmer here. And I'm going to flag the end. So we'll cut there. And we'll cut there. And we'll cut there. Okay, and then I'm going to cut off the front part. Okay. And now we're going to flag the end. So I always start up the center. And then I come in off the sides. Okay. All right, let's put our card together. I'm excited to see it come together. All right, so this has to be glued down. So I'll get my combo glue again. And put that on. Okay, now we need the stool. I'm not going to put a lot of dimension on here. So let's just work things out. I'm going to do the stool, and then we're going to do the teapot with the plant. So maybe we'll take the teapot with the plant, and we'll get this glued on to start with. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue along the top edge of the teapot. And oh, you know what? I forgot. I brought out this little tiny stamp that coordinates with the embossing folder. And I'm going to put a little design on the front of the teapot. Look at that. Isn't that adorable? Oh, it is Spotlight. Thank you. I wasn't wrong. Well, I don't know what size because there isn't one with the the radiating stitches on the side. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on top of that bit of glue, and I've got my decoration on there. Okay, so that is going to, now you've seen me do this before. Often I'll put dimensionals kind of on the top of a plant or flowers to pull it away from the background, just to give it some dimension. So this is going to come like this and like this. Okay, this teapot's going to overlap the stool a little bit. The heartfelt sympathy is going to tuck in behind here a little bit. Okay, and then we've got the pot, the tin pot, the milk pot. I think it's a milk pot. And that's going to sit on top of the stool like so. And then we should glue our flowers on top of the pot too. And this blue flower is over to the right. Okay, so let's do that next. I'll just put a bit of glue. Oh, there's one more thing. Whoops, I won't glue that yet. I forgot there's a little greeting called Flower Market. And I think I'll do that in the black. We'll put that on top of that like that. And then we'll glue our flowers. It's always easier to put the glue on the pot and then put the flowers on top. Okay, and that's going to go on there like that. Look how fun this is putting it together. Love that. Okay, and then this is going to sit on the pot. And that's basically the card. Okay, so we'll reassemble. Now, I think on this pot, I'm going to put a couple of dimensionals on these leaves here. So I'm using my mini dimensionals. So this just lifts the leaves up off. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for these flowers. Okay, so the stool I'm going to just glue straight on. Like so. And the pot of flowers are going to come here. Now, it does overlap a tiny bit at the top, but we've got room for it to fit in the envelope, so don't worry about that. You can have things hang over a little bit. Okay, so we're going to put this on here like this. Okay, and then we'll put our little pot on. And that's going to sit right beside. I have to move it over just a bit, like so. And then we have our greeting. Now, I'm going to cut this down a little bit because it's a little tight. And I'm going to make this a bit more shallow. There we go. So I'm going to tuck this in here. Yeah, I'm going to tuck it in right like that. There we go. All right, now we're going to put on a few of the beautiful pearls. These embellishments are part of the set, as well as some beautiful ribbon, which we're not using on this card, but there's the card, and then I'm going to put on some of these pearls, okay? Now I'm going to use a combination of, there's 3 shades of, they're kind of gray, and there's 3 shades. So I'm going to use my putty edge. And let's put one up here. And I'm going to put one right on top of the tag. Really doesn't matter where you put these. You can put as many or as few as you want on here. And let's use one of these. We'll put it in here. And you know what? I'm going to put a couple just to put a bit of interest in this background here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 uneven numbers. There you go. There's your card. Isn't it cute? Turned out really cute. Sometimes just making a card from the catalog is just so satisfying. I mean, they have kind of like real designers designing their cards, so why not copy the designers? My goodness. Okay, then on the inside, you could repeat the little teapot on the inside of the card with the plant, or you can switch them around, or there's even another floral piece in the set. I'll show you. Yeah, there's this floral set, which is beautiful. I think it's got roses on it. It's really pretty. Yeah, it's got roses on it. Here, you can see it here. I'll show you on the front. This one. See, it's got roses. Really pretty. Yeah. So there you go. There's your card for tonight. Now, we could add a bit of Wink of Stella. Now, did you know this trick? I forget who told me this trick, but once your Wink of Stella is, you know, when you try and squeeze it to push more wink into the brush, and you hear this kind of like an air sound, it's empty. So rather than throw it away, somebody told me to add our, oh my goodness, what are they called again? Our, oh, for heaven's sakes, they're these little droplets that you can put on. What are they called? Oh my goodness. How come I don't have them here? I used them just the other day. You know what I mean? They're in squeeze bottles. They come in a set of 3. There was a white, a gold, and at Christmas time they came out with some other colors. I forget what they're called, but you squeeze. So what you can do is you can create your own embellishment. So you squeeze it onto your silicone mat, these just little droplets, and they're dimensional, so they'll sit up. You wait for them to dry, and then you can use glue dots. Put a few glue dots on your card, and then lift one of these off and put it on your card. So I just can't think of the name right now. But you guys probably know what I'm talking about. But yeah, you can add just a few drops in the barrel. Like say I did 3 drops and then I added just a couple of drops of water, or you could use alcohol. And then you kind of revive your wink of, see, you can hear that. Oh, it's not doing it now because this one's almost empty as well. Excuse me. So you can revive your Wink of Stella brush, which is kind of cool. So I'm just going to do a bit of wink on my flowers here. Just a little bit of wink here. You know, our brains are supposed to be these magnificent things, but why don't we remember everything? Drives me crazy. All right, there you go. Enameled effects. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Carol. Enamel effects. That's right. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I have you guys here to try and help me out. Yeah, enameled effects. Yeah, have you used them to create embellishments? I haven't used them. I usually buy the embellishments, so I haven't really used them. But they make these perfect little puffy pearls. There you go. Okay, thank you, ladies, and I will be back. Oh, actually, tomorrow morning I had promised to do a fun fold Friday last week, but things happened, and it was a beautiful day, and I decided to use the day outside. But tomorrow morning I have everything ready for a fun fold, and I'm going to do a bookmark card. That's what I promised last week. I'm not going to do the bookmark card that I originally made because I found a simpler way to do it. And it turns out exactly the same, but it's just a simpler card, which I think you'll appreciate. So if you can pop in tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to see that, otherwise you can watch the replay. So thank you so much. If you find anybody who might be interested in any of my videos, please point them in the direction, because I love sharing what I do and teaching people. So Christine, I did try to do that and they made great embellishments. Well, that's good to know. I think the gold ones would be good to make. And I think there was a bronze color too. Anyway, that's it for now. Have a good evening. Bye for now, ladies.